well,
Yeah. Yeah.
personally, everybody else that tries to stream into their platform, they don't want it. So, oh well. All right.
Oh, well,
Um,
exactly.
it's 5 o'clock Eastern time. It's whatever it is in your time zone. But good afternoon, good evening, good day. Um, whether you're seeing us live or whether you're watching in replay, um, welcome. And I'm excited. I'm going to uh, introduce my guest, my special guest, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about her, but please help me welcome Pattie Craumer. How are you, Pattie?
Hey, Brent, thank you for having me today on your podcast. I'm so glad to be here.
Wonderful. And what can you tell our audience a little bit about you and your story?
Sure. If somebody says, tell about your story, and you get to a certain age, and there's a whole lot of stories, or at least one big story. So, one of the things when I was talking to Brent separately that he and I were sharing is, what kind of things have been significant for you in the past few years since COVID? And so, I'm going to start my story with about that time. I have had a business called the Mosaic Effect for a little while, and it's a mentoring, business strategy, coaching type of business. And it helps a person reveal who they really are through the idea of looking at yourself as a mosaic of many, many elements and many pieces that you then bring to the world as a unique embodiment, which only you can do. But since COVID, when I was doing all kinds of networking events, I live in Harrisburg area, Pennsylvania, there was so much activity outside of my home. And after COVID, I didn't start those back up again, or they themselves didn't start up again. And so I was there wondering what's next for me. And I am unusual, I think, maybe not, in not being a social media fanatic, poster, uh, expressive person on social media. So that wasn't a place where I could go to generate a whole bunch of new leads. But there are so many ways that you can pitch yourself online and you can make connections and just enjoy being around people. So I did a couple of different things. I did join some online groups, one called Alignable, where they have weekly events that are just, mixers, networking with, 7 people in an hour. And I've made some great connections there. It's been really fun. And I've joined a few businesses, and the network of people who are in a business working in for a certain cause, network marketing, distribution type businesses, means that I ended up making friends in fascinating places, and I'm very grateful that something new happens, and we all rise to the occasion of what that newness brings to us. So that's a little bit of me since COVID and a teeny bit before COVID.
Wow. And I love how you um, told how it basically the COVID, everybody was um, affected by it worldwide. And you chose to embrace a newness because some people do not embrace what the change had occurred. But when you did, you found that you um, have you had other things that were fun, and not only were they fun, but you contributed to them and they contributed to you.
Absolutely true. And another thing I've learned is say yes when something comes up. Say yes. Would you like to do it? Yes. Can you do it? Yes. Even do you really not want to do it? You can say to yourself, but why would be the reasons to say yes? And so those things have opened doors to me when I've just simply said yes, because who knows what's on the other side of that.
Beautiful. Um, so, um, some, all of us have faced life and have had challenges be placed um, in our lap, so to speak. I imagine you're like all of us. Do you have some challenges that you found have uh, you've confronted them and you found how to get beyond it.
Yeah. Brett, it does make you laugh and to say, you know, have you had challenges? Because just like you said right after that is, yes, of course. My challenges don't look like everyone else's and they don't look like mine, but I do have some common ground with a lot of people with the challenge of being a single mom, for example. I've been divorced for almost a decade and it was difficult. I moved back east to take care of, an elderly father with my two kids who were in middle school then and high school. And I had to make it on my own. And sometimes, I thought, I'm at the edge of the precipice. Is the world going to pick me up? And is something going to land for me? And the answer was always yes. Every time I look back and say, I trusted and something came up, whether it was a job when I needed it in a certain moment because I needed some money, or an opportunity came up, or a friend took care of my children for a weekend. There's just so many things. And I learned that in addition to saying yes in situations like that, I also tested my resilience. No matter how down I got, it's like, well, what's the highest level that I can reach up to right now and still show up? And that tested my resilience muscle. And I've just passed that conversation on to my son who's now 21. And I said that I was proud of him, that he really shows a lot of resilience when things have happened to him through the course of his college career. And he said, yeah, I see that, Mom. I see how I have learned that. And I've seen how I have picked some of that up from you and some of it just from being in my own mud puddles and having to, yeah, fish or cut bait, as they say.
That's great. Now, you're of course here in the United States, and so am I. So, um, did you have you always lived in Pennsylvania, or did uh, did you move there after your divorce?
Mm. Yeah, so I have moved back to Pennsylvania with the divorce again to take care of my father who lived in Pennsylvania where I grew up. But I've lived in a lot of different places. Again, maybe my yes mentality has been following me or tracking me for a lot more years. But I started out in Pennsylvania. I've lived in Philadelphia. I've lived in Arlington, Virginia. I went to grad school in Phoenix, Arizona. I lived in Utah with my first husband. Then we moved to Montana. Then I had a short stay in Oregon, and then I moved to Iowa, and then I went back to Montana, and then I moved to Pennsylvania where I am now. So I have done some.
Wow,
No one
it's
needs to
a
know that, but now you do.
well, I always love to learn about someone. For example, though I'm a veterinarian, I did not follow the typical path that most veterinarians that go in private practice have. And I I always have had a little bit of a wanderlust a bug in me. And so when I graduated from veterinary school, I told myself there were two things I wanted to do, but I didn't do because I got into veterinary school. So the summer afterwards, I uh, left and I went to, I got a ride with a friend and I drove to California, went down and visited a friend who lived there in Southern California, took a bus to Seattle, and then a
Oh,
boat to Alaska, and then I hitchhiked through Alaska. Now,
oh,
I don't have a background of hitchhiking, but I used it. I used what I had, and I backpacked all through basically up to Fairbanks, Alaska, and
wow.
then I got a ride on the boat back to California, and then in September I flew home, and I did that, and then approximately 15 months later, I've always wanted to be a ski bum, And I grew up in Michigan, and Michigan, the hills that they have that we have here are puny, and uh, and I always envisioned going out west and skiing in uh, the ski resorts they have out there. So I decided I was going to do that. So after Christmas, after New Year's, I packed my car up and I drove out there, and I eventually got a job for being a bellhop in a ski resort, and that was fun, and it was kind of interesting. Uh, I remember one time I was but we were also the maitre d for the resort, so to speak. So we would greet people when they come in, or they would wait to take the bus to another ski area. And so one guy was up there, and started talking with him, and it turned out he was an oral surgeon. And
Okay.
and then I started asking him very pointed questions about the anesthesia protocols that he used. And he looked at me like, why do you even know that? And it was kind of like I was an undercover agent. It
Mhm.
was fun, and I would surprise people.
I
So
love that. You
I've done
hopped
that
all
through my
over.
life.
Mm.
Yeah. So, so the last I told you I would ask is, what success have you found, especially in the last several years, that have helped you?
What has helped me in the past several years? One of the things that I've really noticed as I've gotten a little bit older is really to just be honest with who I am, just to be um, mm, conscientious about being myself. And maybe that goes back to me even increasing my awareness around this because of my platform called the Mosaic Effect. But I also think that the more we get to see and experience everybody else for exactly who they are, and
Mm,
most people are so, so good and so interesting and powerful that I have grown more and more into that. And I think that that helps me to not only be more out with who I am and honest about that, but also to, I hope, bring that out in others because it's not so easy where we live in this world of veneers and quick takes. We live in a quick take of social media, texter, quick take on things. It's very difficult to get into that letting go and letting down the facades and just being real with who you are because time is clipping along so fast. How do we have time to be there?
mm,
So I would say that, and that goes success back to self, maybe not success in the eyes of the world as far as what does success mean, but success for myself is really more about being who I am and bringing out what I want and what I believe in um, to the world, my family even, can be as small as that, or to others who I encounter like you, Brent, here, or the Be Connected platform, or other places I go. And that makes me excited because, there's just so many incredible people and everybody is successful in their own right, and they can manifest that even more if they take on that energy and belief.
wow, that's incredible. And could you tell me a little bit, and tell our audience about the mosaic effect?
Sure. I mentioned that in the very beginning. It's a brand that I have named that because of what I said a few minutes ago. I believe that we really are as unique and powerful as 7.5 billion people on the planet are. And if we could take on that possibility and say, the world needs me and the world needs you and you and you and you and you. And if I don't know who that is, I want to find out because that's what I want to bring to the world. That's what the mosaic effect is. So I want to help people. I want to be a catalyst, an example, um, elicit conversations from people, to feel that power of, I am a mosaic. I am a composite of the little
Wow.
tiny pieces, the shiny bits, the crappy bits, that make up me, and I own it all and I love it all. So that's really the
Wow.
mosaic and the effect that you can have when you see yourself in that way and live it.
It's beautiful. I didn't realize what I was doing, but a little bit of my story. Um, when I had the strokes, um, basically for almost 11 years, I shied away from what I had become. And a lot of people that have their experiences of life uh, choose to pull away. And I was I was in a um, veterinary business owner networking group locally in Detroit, and I had one woman uh, colleague that she had started like 5 years earlier a life coaching podcast.
Mhm,
She was a veterinarian, but she also had branched out and had learned skills to be a life coach. So she had a weekly podcast, and she bugged me for over a year uh,
mhm,
that people would love me. And I thought, man, I have this condition called aphasia, but basically I had a communication disorder, and I really shied away. Naturally, I'm an introvert, but introvert plus aphasia meant be silent in the
mhm,
out in the public. And when had I finally said, "All right, I'll do it." It's kind of like Tony Robbins' life strategies. Um, uh, he sort of like his voice screamed at me, "Say yes," and
good
so I
job.
said yes finally. And what I found out was two realizations. First of all, I had a blast. It was fun, but I realized I was leaning back instead of the aphasia and the introvert, and I realized that I couldn't allow that to rule my life. And the second thing, I realized that when I leaned into it, I could be myself. I could be, like you said, authentic, but I could be an example for other stroke survivors or
Mhm,
somebody else. They can fill in the blank what they feel that maybe they aren't doing as well.
mhm.
And by doing it, what they were called to do, they could be an example like I was, or I could show others, or I could tell them, and they could do something more. So
Yeah,
that's why I started doing this.
yeah. Well, you inspire me, Brent, because you told me earlier before we got on this podcast that you have been doing reels every single day since June, if that's right. That's
Yes.
impressive to me because that's a absolutely an element of success is being consistent and believing in something that you're doing. And so I just wanted to say that out loud because when you went from being an introvert with aphasia, you have come out to being a great podcaster and a person who does daily reels and is committed to making a difference. And you inspire me. So thank you for having me here because I've learned some really great things about you and a story back to myself where I can go into social media or I could do daily posts or I could show up in a bigger way and still be that honest, authentic me and just have fun with it, which is what you have done. So
Well,
that's great.
and I mentioned earlier the Be Connected platform, which we're on doing it and the podcast not now, but I feel that I've been on this on this platform about 6 months, and I've learned it, um, at least weekly, I learn something new. How Be Connecting is helping me to connect with others. And
Mm,
I think that's wonderful.
me too. Yeah, I love it.
All
That's
right.
how we know each other from the beginning.
Yes, we do, and I'm very grateful. We have a shared colleague, Lucy Rosastagi. That's a wonderful person.
Absolutely. So true. So, okay, what
Well,
else? Anything else? Is that a wrap?
no, I purposely uh, make this format to be around 15 minutes because if you, as an audience, you've liked what you heard and you'd like to find out more about Patty, you can click on the button. Um, and if you're on um, my YouTube channel, um, there would be other way that you can connect with her.
Okay. Thank
All
you
right.
very
Well,
much.
as all, I thank you for coming in and sharing it with us. You're part of you to be a part of you, the mosaic, and and uh, and to your audience, to your success.
Oh, thank you, Brent. And same to everyone who's listening. Yes, the world is brighter because we're all in it right now.